who's a quarterback that has been that fun to watch?
That's a great question. That's a really, really great question.
It's exciting to watch vintage Brady.
Brett Farve, maybe?
Yeah, when he's on a tear, like when he's having one of his days, because he had a lot of those. Those were like the big things in his career. I remember when his dad died, Monday night game. And yeah, I mean, you get one of the greatest performances that I've seen in my decades of watching football. And he could do that. Yeah. He didn't do it every week, but he could do that. Let's say Young had a couple of games like that. You think about the big comeback with Montana, I don't know, maybe Sims Marino.
Look, I mean, Prime Farve really was something special. Like, I mean, sure, he was the ultimate gunslinger, and he'd have his weeks where he threw 4 interceptions and stuff like that. But a prime Brett Farve won 3 consecutive MVP awards. No other player in NFL history has ever won 3 in a row. Only Farve.
You know what it is? It for me is because you bring up Brett Favre. Brett Favre, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. You can be watching a game, and at the beginning of the game, like, you're excited to watch it. This is going to be a good game. I think Green Bay is going to win this one. I think Kansas City or the Patriots are going to win this one. Maybe it starts off at it, and then you just see the switch click, and you know it's over. You see him get dialed in, and you see him in the zone. And when those guys get in the zone, you can't beat them. There's nothing you could do. You could knock them out of the game, and they're still going to win, proven by Patrick Mahomes.
And Mahomes has that feeling to him for sure. And I mean, for me, like what I always circle back to with Mahomes, the most impressive thing I've ever seen Mahomes do was a couple years ago in the playoffs against the Texans, the Deshaun Watson Texans. They were down 24-0 against the Texans in the second quarter. By halftime, they were up 28-24. I mean, unbelievable.
Peyton Manning, another one. I remember he played a game. I believe it was against the Jets, Colts against the Jets. And I want to say they were down 5 touchdowns going into the fourth quarter. And I was at a buddy's house. They're down 5 touchdowns. Time to go. It was Monday night game. It was definitely a night game. Might have been Thursday night game. And I'm driving home listening to it, and it's touchdown after touchdown. Peyton Manning comes back and wins that game. 5 touchdowns in a quarter to win this game.
Peyton Manning, too, is just the guy that, like, sometimes you can see it from the first snap of the game. When Peyton was in his zone and on his game, you were never stopping Peyton Manning.
Wasn't going to happen.
When he was in the zone, it was impossible. He was, in my opinion, the closest thing to the perfect quarterback when he was playing his A-plus game because he was unstoppable.
Here's the difference. Pay attention to this because this is it. This is the blow your mind brain moment right here. Here's the difference between Mahomes and all those other guys. Farve, Brady, Manning, Marino. Yeah. All those guys, when they get dialed in, they're going to win. It's over. The game's over. You can see it. You can feel it. Everybody on the field can feel it. People at home can feel it. It's just, you know what's about to happen because you just see it. With the exception of Mahomes, all those other guys, when they got in their head, you could see that too. When Manning takes that sack in the Super Bowl, you knew it was over. That was the first drive of the game. I think it was the second offensive play for them. He took that sack. You knew that game was over. There was no point in finishing watching that Super Bowl, even though some of us did, because you knew that game was over. When you saw Favre get ticked off and start to chase it, you knew that game was over. Same thing with Marino. Same thing with Brady. Pressure Brady. If you can pressure Brady and get Brady pissed off at himself, not pissed off at the game. If he's pissed off at the game, you're in trouble. But when he gets pissed off at himself, it's game over. These guys can self-destruct. You do not see that from Mahomes. I've never, in the short time that he's played, ever seen him self-destruct.
You're right. And even in the Super Bowl where he got destroyed by the Bucs and he was under pressure all game, just his attitude in the game on the sideline, he never gave up hope. Even though they never really had a shot in that game, you could see and I could feel the confidence coming off him that he still believed they were going to win that game as bad as it got and how literally nothing went their way. It never seemed to fade him. It never. And
you never thought as somebody watching it, you did not ever think that Kansas City was out of it. You always thought that Kansas City could come back and win that game. And you're right. They weren't. That game was over, but you never really believed it. Either did.
I mean, let's go even more recent. Just this year's Super Bowl. The Eagles absolutely dominated the first half of this Super Bowl.
Yeah. Mahomes is hurt going into halftime.
Everything went perfect for the Eagles. But watching the game, didn't it always kind of feel like, man, it feels like the Eagles should be up more, and it feels like the Eagles should be more comfortable right now. And for whatever reason, nothing's gone right for the Chiefs, but Mahomes is going to win this thing, isn't it?
The game before, Mahomes gets hurt and comes back in. And so when he was hurt in the Super Bowl, you knew he was coming back, but you didn't know what you were going to get. When he got hurt, it was like, oh man, maybe this is it. We're going to find out after halftime. And we found out.
Almost like it wakes him up even more, right?
Yeah.
Like he's like, okay, I'm getting even more adversity. I guess that means I have to play even better. And he steps up to the challenge every time. It's amazing.
Every time. And that's the difference with Mahomes. Mahomes will never give up. Mahomes never sees a loss. Mahomes doesn't chase it like a gambler does. He doesn't chase it like Farve and Brady and Mahomes and Manning did. He always believes that he's going to win. And these other guys would get mad. And you can see it. Favre, horrible temper. Manning, horrible self-temper. Brady, horrible tempers. Only gotten worse. Going to be a cranky old man.
Yeah.
And it's because they're competitors. Because they're competitors. They're alphas. Sure. They want to win. They believe they can win, but they know that mistakes have been made. They can see the mistakes that have been made, and they know they blame themselves, and they get in their own heads. But you don't see that with Mahomes. And maybe it's just because Mahomes is young. Maybe it's because he's still young enough to believe in himself, in the win. Maybe it's his own self-image. But as we said, I think it's whatever it is, it's truly it. And Mahomes has it.
And you're right. When nothing's going those other guys' ways, like you said, you can see them get frustrated. When nothing goes Mahomes' way, you see him get more motivated. He said, okay, it's going to be more difficult this time, so let's step it up. Let's go. And he's not just word service or lip service or whatever. He does it.
You don't see him yelling at his players. You see him motivate his players.
He says, guys, let's go.
He's the first one out there, and they follow. When those other guys get mad, they get mad at everybody. They take it out on everybody, and it's hard to play. They think that they're motivating, but there is an art to motivating, and they can definitely motivate. I'm not taking anything away. Look, Manning and Brady and Farve, those guys can definitely motivate a team, but they can also berate their players and tear some stuff down. You don't see Mahomes do that. Like you said, he's just a special guy.